Bastards! Why are you torturing me like this? Why?
Ellen had been in some of our amateur movies in high school, and Ellen and Sam were friendly, and we knew each other from high school. So you had a hint, but we never did anything as crazy as that.
Well, we did Within the Woods, which is the infamous precursor to The Evil Dead.
It's a tool we use to raise the money.
And, you know, I did some great running through swamps and that, you know, falling on sticks that were sticking straight up. But, you know, I was pretty hardy, and I didn't feel any need to warn them. I figured, let them deal with it. But, yeah, the problem is with the shorts, you know, they took a weekend and then you recovered.
It only got so bad.
Here we were, you know, for months and months, it seemed like.
Yeah, well, first of all, we were scheduled to go for 6 weeks. It was a 6-week shoot.
A 3-hour tour.
Yeah, 3-hour tour. And then Gilligan came along and wrecked everything. But what happened was we doubled the shoot. We went from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. That's like Heaven's Gate time. I mean, that's a huge overrun.
But on a different budget.
On no budget. So the budget went from like nothing to -0 by the time we were done, because we had to get the thing done, and everybody had schedules. They had, you know, college to go to, you know, other lives to get back to, obligations, and so we filmed as much as we could, as long as we could, and I don't think any of us, you know, none of us had been in a feature film. We were all actors, but had never done something of this degree, and obviously had never run up against someone like Sam Raimi.
I think the other part of it was that we were all living together. It wasn't just that we were filming, we'd have a day of really rough shooting or a night of rough shooting, and then go home to our nice little beds and forget about it. No, this was 24/7, the whole thing.
Yeah, what we did was, you know, obviously this is well before the Screen Actors Guild tells you what you must do for actors. So
like take a break and sleep.
Yeah, like have a break and have sleep and hot meals and things. You know, all that boring stuff.
Right.
And so we decided everyone stayed in one house, and it was a 4 or 5 bedroom home, so it was a decent sized home. But the entire crew and the entire cast stayed there. So I think the women got a wing or something, or a room.
A wing.
Yeah, like I said, a room.
Come on, you're dreaming.
Okay, all right, I know. That's what we called a wing in those days.
Yeah,
was a room.
No.
And you know, so we all slept on the floor. So, and when I got back from the Evil Dead shoot, I actually slept on the floor of my house for about a month. And my mother's like, "You have a perfectly good bed. Why are you sleeping on the floor?" I went, "Because that's how it was in Tennessee." We were all kind of insane. We had planned on filming that summer. We raised money in the spring, but in Michigan, we didn't know anything about raising money, so it took forever. Summer came into fall, and then we were going to shoot in Michigan, but Michigan has notoriously bad winters, as you all know. So we went, I know, we'll go to Tennessee. It's warmer down there. Well, as soon as we got down there, finally starting in November, mid-November of '79, Tennessee had one of the coldest winters on record, and Michigan had one of the warmest. So we went there to avoid the cold and the wet, and it was miserable. We had cameras freezing, cables freezing, people freezing.
We had no heat, running water, or electricity in the cabin we were shooting in. We brought in electricity, right?
Yeah, we restored it.
What did we do for plumbing? I don't even remember.
This was even before the land of porta potties. I think there's your hunk of woods over there.
Yeah, and so, you know, me running through the woods at night, it was, what, 40? 35?
Yeah.
And we were freezing. It was, and the sticky blood would almost kind of freeze and become more sticky.
Well,
and you couldn't wash it off. And
yeah, I had a fun blood experience where we were shooting one night, all night long. And this was a Saturday night, and we're shooting in the Bible Belt here of rural Tennessee, and I couldn't get my clothes off. I had so much fake blood on me. Every time I'd pull to get my sleeve off, I'd take a shank of hair with it. So it was like sandpaper. So we had this rented white pickup truck. So I sat in the back of the pickup truck, looking like Charles Manson, basically, covered from head to toe, on a Sunday morning as people are coming out to go to church. I'm going, "Hi, good morning, good morning." And when we got to the house, to the beautiful, spacious rented house, I walked right into the bathroom, into the shower, and just with all my clothes on, because I had to melt the fake blood off of me. And that was a sexy day.
I was just in another horror movie last year, and we also shot at night, and I also ran through the woods and all those things, and it was also low budget, and I was incredibly upbeat and very gung-ho through the whole thing, and other people were complaining. I'm going, guys,
Yeah, you have
you
no
have
idea.
no idea.
No idea.
We have food.
Right.
We have a way to get out of the cold.
I have
This
a
is
place to
piece-
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, this is a piece of cake. So what? You're staying up at night.
Well, I just did a film called The Woods. Agnes Bruckner's the lead in it, and you know, she's a 18-year-old, and it was just very funny to show up on the set. She's going, oh, this fake blood. Oh, and she's got like a patch here and a patch here. I'm like, honey pie, wait till you sat under a 55-gallon drum and had it empty on your face, and then you and I can talk. So, you know, we've all been through something that I don't think we will ever be through again. Shoots later, many movies later, you start to realize what a normal shoot is. Right. Sam Raimi is not an easy filmmaker. He's finally in a place doing Spider-Man movies where they can finally afford to make a Sam Raimi movie. We could never afford to make a Sam Raimi movie because Sam Raimi was making a Steven Spielberg movie even when he was making his first movie.
Every shot had to be perfect, and you did it until you died, or you did it until you had a breakdown. Which I believe I had a famous one.
Well, we called it the latex point.
Yeah.
There's a point where every actor in the cast hit the latex point. And what that is it happened to Ellen at one of the various, she's locked in the cellar for, 2/3 of the movie. And you covered completely head to toe in makeup, and they were all in horrible makeup. I'm the one guy's like, hey, how's your makeup going? I just got fake blood. But Ellen hit a point where she'd been trapped in that stupid cellar like too long and worn this makeup too long, and the contact lenses are terrible. They're glass and they cover your whole eye.
Can't see through them at all.
You're really only supposed to keep them in for 15 minutes at a time, and you can really only take them in and out 5 times a day. We kept them in for way longer than 15 minutes. They were in and out of her eyes, everybody's eyes, 3 and 6, 7, 8 times a day.
In very sanitary conditions, I might add.
Yeah, cabin where you can't even move because your feet are sticking to the fake blood to the floor. So there's a point where you just can't take it anymore.
But then Sam would shoot even more. That was the thing. He would shoot past the latex point.
So you'd reach the latex point, he'd say, okay,
That's really
relax
good.
for about 6 seconds, and then we'll do it 10 more times.
The whole experience was very difficult for me. I just wasn't used to all that stuff on my face. But I do remember not that long ago, as we age, our eyesight starts to diminish, and I went to get contact lenses for the first time, and I was traumatized.
Let me just stick
I
these in your
swear to
eye
God,
there.
the whole office came in because they couldn't believe my reaction to putting this in my eye.
No, not the eye, not the eye.
I swear to God, it took me a year to be able to put a contact in my eye. And I had to change doctors. They wouldn't let me back. They said, you know what, this isn't for you.
Let's talk about injuries.
There we go.
Let's just see if let's see if any of us actually sustained injuries.
Well, I guess I would be the only one speaking then, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, there were injuries. You got that right. There were injuries. How about the time you took my ankles and just dragged me through the cabin?
How about it?
How about it? And there was real blood. It wasn't Carol syrup on the white nightgown. It was real blood. And they stopped and they said, Betsy, did that hurt? Once I got my breath back, yeah, just a little bit. So we fixed that. They went out to the Delta 88, got a piece of carpet from the floor, and said, can you put that on your back? I said, how? Somebody threw duct tape. So we duct taped the carpet to my back, which worked great. We did that take about 19 more times. Didn't hurt. Then we went home, and because I couldn't take a bath or go into the shower because, of course, Theresa had used all that, I said, well, look, I've got to get some sleep. I've got this carpet on my back. So I just started ripping off the duct tape. And I think that was actually more painful than being dragged through the cabin.
There were injuries that were visible, and then there were injuries that were internal. Now, psychological, emotional, but also let's talk about the fog juice. they had to create fog, and they used some kind of toxic chemical that
It was an oil-based fog.
It was an oil-based fog, and you know, there were times where not only it was in the air, but Sam would say, "Hey, let's shoot some fog up Ellen's shirt so it can come out in her face." So I'm sure that we are all gonna die of emphysema.
But you know what, though?
at
Even
some
on top
point.
of the foggers, when Sam would do that to your shirt, he'd hold it up and you'd go, these made a horrible noise because
Yeah.
you had to plug them in. Because it was a juice container. You'd pour this heinous crap in there. It would heat up, go through a heating element, and then spit out. But if it wasn't fully heated, it would spit napalm at you. So we'd go to spray it. This horrible shit is like, it's burning you at the same time.
But the probably the most painful was when I get kicked in the face and thrown backwards into the cellar.
Is that you're possessed?
Once I become possessed, I've got the lenses in my eyes and we can't see through them, so we have to act blind. And I had to fall into like about a 4 by 4 foot hole where there was some people in the hole with a blanket stretched out that I could fall into, you know, which was really nice of them, that I didn't have to fall onto the dirt. So, you know, needless to say, I missed the hole a few times and I flung myself back and smacked my head. That hurt.
I do have some injuries I'd like to report.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
some things.
Yeah, you know, they got hurt. Yeah, they got hurt. I actually got hurt not filming one night where we finished a scene where I think I lopped, you know, Betsy's head off with a shovel. And her neck spewed blood all over me. So I'm like, hooray, this stupid scene is done. And I ran down this hill joyfully, went, ha-ha! Ah! I landed completely wrong on my ankle. And of course, we're not done filming. We have like hours and hours left. I think I broke my ankle. I mean, it was a massive sprain. And I was in so much pain, I started laughing. I started to go, ha, 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 because I was going insane. I couldn't put any weight on it. And so Sam and Rob, this is the producer and the director and the writer, Sam Spider-Man Raimi, grabbed a stick. They both grabbed sticks. This is like, what's the film with all the kids on the island? Lord of the Flies. So they cornered me in a back room with these sticks, and I was laughing because I was in so much pain. They thought I was laughing because of the gag they were pulling. So they're going, "Hey, Bruce, how's your ankle? How's your ankle?" So they're poking at my ankle, and I'm going, "God, stop, stop, stop." And what they don't realize, I was really begging them to stop. I was like almost at tears, stop. And they thought, he loved this, he loved this. And then we have to shoot a scene where I come in and be tender and kiss the possessed, you know, Betsy lying down. And you can see me limping in the shot. There's absolutely no question about it. And then later, after pretty much all the actors were gone now, everyone had to do stuff. So we still had like 2 weeks of shooting left. So we got a local actress named Barbara Carey, who we saw in a play once. And we went, she's fine. Put a wig on her. She'll be great. She's perfect for Betsy. So there's a scene where she comes out of the grave and tears up my leg. And so she had long fingernails at the time. And Tom Sullivan, the makeup guy, did an appliance here. She has to scratch and scrape while blood is coming and spitting out. And that appliance, like, when I took it off, it like took some hairs off and left some horrible deposit of something in one of those follicles. And over the next 2 weeks, I started to get this awful like boil on my leg. And someone finally went, "What's wrong with your leg?" I went, "I don't know, it's something from the thing we shot the other couple of weeks ago." "Well, look at that." And we went, and I squeezed out the most disgusting combination of pus and latex that you've ever, I almost vomited on the spot. It was the grossest thing I'd ever seen. And someone was there to witness. They were like, ha, ha. So, and then the woman who did that, she had these long fingernails. She had to scrape, and Sam kept going, "Keep scratching. What's wrong with you? Keep scratching like this. Angry, you're angry at him." And then we see her off to the side after the shot. She's going like this, turned away from us like 20 feet away. Because when you're not in the light, it's dark out there. So she was quietly weeping to herself. And I thought I was going to come over and say, "You didn't hurt me. Don't worry about me." she goes, I'm not. She held up she had bent back 2 of her fingernails, like completely back. And she didn't want to tell us because she like didn't want to be fired or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit. So we had to like tape it up and all that. She's, no, I'm fine. I can go again. So like, of course, the next take, you know what her fingernails are feeling like. It's like.
Well, that was the whole thing, is that none of us felt like it was like a contest, you couldn't break down. It was a test of how tough you would be. And Sam took every advantage of when you had just had it, when you were losing it, and used that.
Knowing that you were at the end.
Knowing, yeah. And then he would come up with his sweet, how you doing, Ellen?
Hey, pal, how's everything going, buddy?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, exactly. Pal. Everybody's pal.
Everyone's a pal.
We actually love Sam. We don't
we
think he meant anything by this. He's just very driven.
He's
He had to get the right shot.
He's the most driven filmmaker I think any of us have ever worked with. And the funny thing is, if you can do a Sam Raimi movie, you can basically do any movie. We did manage to have some fun. There was an evening where we went out to a local club, and we were in a dry county. So you can't just go get a bottle of hooch at the local store. We were drinking moonshine at this point because the local guy said, man, well, we started it. Hey, we're from Detroit. We've never had moonshine before. Right. We hear you guys make it down here. Well, yeah, I can get it, but I don't know if you want to drink it. Yeah. And so a local guy, Gary Holt, who was the man who his favorite line was, I think I can work that out. So he shows up with a mason jar full of moonshine, which doesn't get you drunk, actually. It makes you insane. You yell loud and punch things. And the way you test moonshine is you pour it in the lid and you light it on fire. Yeah. If it's a soft blue flame, it's good. If there's an orange flame, it's been distilled in a car radiator. So you probably want to avoid that. So he tested it. Look, see, here right there, it's a soft blue flame. His other trick was he'd shake it, and little tiny bubbles, he'd go, tiny bubbles, no troubles. So we were like, okay, bring it on, sucker. We'd pour it into styrofoam cups, and the cup would slowly melt. It would bead up on the outside of the cup and would start to collapse on itself. And we realized,
that's good
if
stuff.
it's taking styrofoam back to its native components, what is that doing to our stomach? So we started to throw it on the fire just before we rolled film to give it a big whoosh and to make the fire look really strong. That was the only use. So one night we got liquored up and went to a club. This was a private, secret club, and this is what the South is all about. They don't have open parties. They have private parties. So we went to this club, and I was dancing with a Southern girl, and my pickup line was, ever danced with a Northern boy before? And she rolled her eyes. She's like, no. I went, come on, baby. So we were dancing and falling down on the dance floor. We would get up, and she would trip me, and then I would trip her. And I thought she smelled really nice. And I said, hey, what's that you're wearing? She goes, Ivory soap. And then we fell down on the dance floor, and I don't remember the rest of the evening. I woke up in women's clothing. But so we had a couple of crazy nights.
But really only a couple. I mean, we really only, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 times that we ever went out.
We did go to a tobacco farmer's home and rode go-karts around. We had Thanksgiving at a local family.
That was fun.
And these guys, they take Thanksgiving seriously in the South. They had our whole cast and crew. I think it was like 17 people came over to this one house to have Thanksgiving. And, we were starving. We were always like, there was no food, there's no nothing. We also had the joy of, some of the men took the duty of who would watch the cabin at night. Mm-hmm. Because what's funny is in the rural part of Tennessee where we were, we went home for lunch every day, or had it brought to us sometimes. But when we had to leave, we had a 16-millimeter camera sitting there, a Nagra recorder. These are all fairly expensive pieces of equipment. And then we had a toolbox. And we came back after filming, after going back for a lunch break, all the tools were gone. The camera was untouched. The tape recorder was untouched. All the film equipment was untouched because they probably went, what's that do? Well, I don't know, but there's a skill saw over there. Hey, there's a hammer I can use. So they stole all the regular tools, and we were obviously being watched from the hills. We would look up. One night we saw 2 guys squatting up in the hills who wouldn't say anything, and they would disappear if we would go to approach them. So we were being watched, and we would take turns who would stay over in the cabin after filming that night to protect it from the people stealing power tools. So Sam had the duty of sleeping over one night, and I was bringing groceries down to the cabin the next morning. And walking from the cabin was a guy with a beard down to here, with shotgun shells and 2 straps across his chest, and a gigantic shotgun coming from the cabin. I went, okay, he's just killed Sam, clearly, and I'm next. And I can't even use my hands because I'm carrying groceries. He's walking up the road to me, and I'm walking down. We're the only 2 guys there. And what do you say? Get off my property? It wasn't even our property. So I just went, good morning. He went, morning. He was just hunting, and we just passed, and I went to the cabin, and he hadn't even gone in the cabin. So it was a very bizarre place.
I'll go to hell. I'm not honking at you.
By the time each of these women got on a car, bus, or plane on the way back home, no one was really, speaking. I remember we went to see, Theresa at doing a comedy show a couple of months afterward,
right.
and it was kind of like, hi, how are you? She's like,
Very funny.
So it took a while to sort of speak again afterward, because we pushed the envelope of everybody. This whole shoot was that, and the strange thing was, I think some of that translated into film. I've got shots of me in the movie. I'm 21 years old, and I look like I've been up on an all-night bender in some of the shots in the movie, because we basically were.
Well, Sam ended up looking like a homeless person by the end of the shoot. I enjoyed watching him grow scruffier and scruffier as the shoot went on, and the bags under the eyes, and he literally looked like he had walked out of a swamp.
What was the premiere like for everybody?
Shock.
I was really surprised
When what way?
that Ellen had that scene. I had no idea.
Let's face it, the wood scene shocked the hell out of
All of us, we had no idea.
I was absolutely mortified. My parents were there. In fact, the story of the evening was my.
I remember this.
My when it was over, one of my mother's, a person who knew my mother, just kind of walked up to her and said, "What we have to deal with our children." That's all she said.
Well, I actually wasn't at the premiere. I was doing an auto show.
Because you had to go back and make like real money.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we had, when we did our premiere, it was at an old theater called the Redford Theater in Detroit, which we always loved because it was a huge theater. It really was, and it was packed. People showed up. It was open to the public. And we thought, oh my God, well, we'll see what happens. Who knows? We had no idea what the reaction would be. This is before test previews, getting idiots at malls to come out and watch your movie. This was just whoever wants to show up. And we got word after the show that an elderly woman wanted to speak with us.
Oh.
And we went, oh no. And this woman, I'm not kidding, was 80 years old. She goes, I had nothing to do this evening, and I thought I'd come and watch your movie. And we went, oh, crap, here it comes. We were going to get the finger-waving thing. And she goes, I was having a really bad day, and I have to say, I thought it was great. Because she laughed her ass off through the whole movie.
Well, that's the laughing what came as a real surprise. There were so many people laughing. And when we made the movie, we didn't think there was anything funny about it.
No, it was a melodrama.
I mean, it was...
We can't bury Shelley. She's a friend of ours.
It's only now that we laugh.
Well, I have to say, we've sort of stayed in touch over the years after the hate sort of calmed down a little bit. And since the ladies of the Evil Dead have come more into their own as an entity, we have stayed in touch. But I think it was really fun because we didn't always get everybody together. We'd get 2, 3, or the ladies were together, or I'd show up sometimes. But this was all the cast members in Royal Oak at a theater that we had gone to as a kid. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed their company because they're really good sports, and they went through an incredible amount, and I'm glad that they're still here.
Still alive and not soon.
Well, and I don't think any of us had seen Rich, a.k.a. Hal Delrich, a.k.a. Scotty. And so it was great to see him.
I think Rich was kind of astounded because after the movie, he went back to his regular job, and he has a quote-unquote regular job today. In the flooring business. And to him, this was, when he showed up, he was like, what is this? You know, here he was in this crappy low-budget horror film eons ago, 25 years ago. And now it's like, you know, people are lining up and they have memorabilia and there's been 2 other sequels. He's like, what the hell is going on?
Why do you think, Bruce? Why do you think the film has been so successful?
Okay, I think the film was successful because of Bruce. That's because of you.
Is that a personal opinion?
Only.
Okay, I'll explain the real reason why Evil Dead is popular. We live in a country of moderation. Everything is rated. We have rules. We have signs. We have regulations. Evil Dead is a no-holds-barred, kick the doors out, gross your face off sort of horror flick. This is a horror film where it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And there are no holds barred. People are going to die. Their heads are going to come off. Blood is going to gush. And nowadays, you don't see that as much.
You know, it's just a unique experience. I just feel like we've lived through something that nobody else has.
It's safe to say that the thing that has kind of been fun to watch over the years is when it was first done, it was really known as a shock movie. I mean, it was put in the same category as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Night of the Living Dead, these unrated, really scary, gross films. It was banned in much of Europe for years. There were court cases. People were fainting and vomiting and stuff like that at the showings. And now it's at Kmart.
Thank God the whole thing makes me laugh now, or else I'd probably slit my throat. Because I did spend many years being very embarrassed about it. And really, when we shot this thing, we didn't think anybody was ever going to see it. So what did it matter? We didn't think it was ever going to come out. We didn't think anybody would ever see it. Video wasn't around at the time, so we thought, okay, so they'll show it in a few movie theaters in you know, Yehuppets, and then it'll be over. So after the years of being embarrassed and slightly humiliated, then having a sense of humor about it and being able to like just be a normal person here but also be this star of Evil Dead is a lot of fun.
Just being with each other, it's almost like going to your high school class reunion every time we get together. Because you know how in high school, when there's some real challenges that you go through, but you did it and you did it together, and now you can look back, and that's sort of the way it feels every time I see this group. It's like we really bonded. Kumbaya.
Shut up.